Welcome everyone, we are the Grin Brothers and we're back! Oh, hearts! Oh, and shield. Well, health up. Same thing. It's the shield symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing
Defense. Durability.
So is that all you had to say about the Tavern Brawls of Hearthstone? I say all you had about to say, you've been on for like 3 episodes. Because of Chef Kowalski interruptions.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Like, it's a solid Tavern Brawl, but I want the campaign. I mean, it's not that long technically, it's the 14th, so what?
To be fair, at least you'll get that campaign sooner than Overwatch will.
That's true. God, I hate the fact they did that to Overwatch.
We're going to make this story-heavy series, and let's not give it a single-player campaign.
It's so dumb. Blizzard have made a lot of questionable decisions. Oh, I see ESP got the Rosalina treatment.
What?
There's nothing underneath his robe dress.
Ah, fair enough. Yeah, it's actually funny thing.
In fact, I think it's just a head.
Funny thing about that. I guess that kind of ties into the, in part of the Maiden Anchor comment I made before. Again about questioning whether to include a remark on that. I got a Game Boy Advance game a while back now called Lady Seer. It was one I remember hearing Metal Jesus Rock talk about, and it actually looked really good, so I ended up getting it. Surprisingly more in depth than I was expecting, with the combat sort of system and such. You're going to do little combos and such, and certain ones are better for certain situations and stuff. Looks beautiful and everything. But after a few sort of scenes, I was kind of curious to myself. It's like, because I thought it was this was made by an American developer. I really can't imagine it. And then I looked up and saw that it was done by a French developer. I was like, that explains it. Because I was beginning to notice there was a surprising amount of interesting camera angles when going up the ladder. This was not a void.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried to obscure it by making it a lighter blue when she already wore a blue dress, but it was still obvious. But to be fair, the French do have a particularly high anime influence in their sort of country, in stuff like their comics and such. So
yeah, they do, don't they?
I mean, Wakfu is the most notable example. What are you doing?
Got something in my teeth.
Ouch. Chef Kowalski thought he could destroy water by headbutting it.
Chef Kowalski can do whatever he wants. Oh. Indeed.
There we go. Now I can play as a different character altogether. There we go. Oh. Nice. No, no! I'm back to being Chef Kowalski!
Oh wait, yeah.
What?
That's a button, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm adding a lot to this.
Pardon?
I'm adding a lot to this situation.
Oh, there's the other health thing. Well, that dismounted me. Read that.
Yeah, it would.
Let's see. Something else to talk about there.
It knows you're a coward trying to escape from being the one true god.
Let's see. Something else to talk about there. Well, like I mentioned before, I'm just gonna eat everyone here. Ah, you're in the pot finally.
Not technically me though.
I guess. It's you if controlled by a robot.
Besides, I've already been in the pot. I did it whilst I was, Bugsy, I think?
Yeah.
I fell in my accident.
So like I said before, I did mention being able to tie in the artwork thing to Legend of Nanka. But yeah, I've been planning a new Miiverse interactive series. Hello, Zan Partisan. New Miiverse Adventure series called The Legend of Nanka's Miiverse Adventure. and it's a playthrough of Ocarina of Time with interactive questions and all that, where I do a story and replace the role of Link with Nanka. And I did one previously. Wow, that didn't take well. And I did one previously of Pokemon, Pokemon Yellow version, called Nanka's Pokemon Universe Adventure. Now, Raph knows about all this. I'm just kind of recapping for anyone who didn't know. But I was commissioning an artwork to serve as the cover art for the series, and I did make one slight problem in it, in that I commissioned someone from Venezuela. Nothing against Venezuelans, but their country is going through some issues at the moment, such as lots of blackouts and such.
And political climate.
Yeah, for instance, one recent thing is a blackout caused her to lose her hard drive full of data and, artwork and such. So a lot of her software and games were lost in the instant. So it was taking a while, so I thought, you know what, I finally got the 3DS fixed. I'll just, for the moment, start doing the Legend of Nanka's Universe Adventure. Just to be ahead of the curve, as it were, when the arc eventually gets done.
Yeah.
Ironically, just last night, she actually sent me the first sketch, despite her hard drive crashing.
Huh.
Apparently I was next on the list after the hard drive crash.
Huh.
And I clearly was not looking at the screen there, because I just think everyone walked into a cannon there.
They did.
Hey, your whip!
Yeehaw. Cowboy joke. Oh wait, sorry. According to Rockstar, Cowboys are racist, so we're not allowed to talk about them. So,
the non-native American
Outlaw joke. Because that's what they are.
Which is very interesting. This outlaw sheriff!
I'm an outlaw.
Who serves the law.
Well, no, a sheriff would just be a sheriff. Oh, thank you. I think I stole that off you.
No, throw it.
Because I'm an outlaw.
Yeah, just last night I got the first sort of sketch of it. Just going over... That was actually the one I mentioned, kind of mentioned earlier, that because of that recent commissioning issue, I was a little bit more, should I comment on this, should I comment on that sort of thing? Like, I came up with an idea looking at it.
Oh god, he comes back!
I came up with an idea looking at it. I was like, should I just wait until they started doing it themselves sort of thing? Is this, what's it need me to? Because one thing I gave is I gave some inspirations for how to do Nanka's Link-based tunic. I gave him a few sort of artworks to use as reference material, but otherwise gave mostly, the idea is to give him freedom with it.
Yeah.
I had an idea, because the idea I was thinking of with the series, and it's part of a joke and part of something I've always wondered, is that Link, for some reason, Link's clothes magically aged with him and grew in size.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of a joke in the fact that the clothes shouldn't age, as it were.
No, that's how clothes work, then.
But I thought, well, the one clothing option that could be a nice opposite case is the hat. Have it so that Child Nanka has a hat that's actually too big for her when she's younger, and when she actually goes through the Ocarina of Time 7-year process.
You can just go, I teleport.
When she goes through the 7-year process, her hat suddenly fits her. Which I thought was a nice idea to suggest, but at the same time I was then thinking, oh, am I now, interfering too much with the process sort of thing, given I wanted to give creative freedom.
Yeah.
But, I didn't used to have those sort of doubts, but now I kind of somewhat do. Because now, I'm getting really specific with the sketch phase.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't usually.
I get you.
Oh,
he's dead. So's him.
He
survived and then died.
But I've actually, but the sketches, the poses of it, it's looking good already. Because the one thing I wasn't worried about, whilst I was worrying about, will they actually be able to do the commission itself, given all the problems going on, I was never worried about the quality of the artwork, because I like the artwork that Mega Bunny's done. So, I was definitely looking forward to the actual drawing itself. I was just worried about if they'd be able to find time to, and if it would be okay for them to find time to, given their situation they're in. You know? Although, from what I hear, they mostly make their living at the moment off of the artwork, so I guess, you know, being commissioned helps them, so...
Probably.
And once they get, you know, more commissions out of the way, they can get more commissions from other people.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, fire just dares it.
I mean, it makes sense. Oh. Ow. How much food do we get?
Oh, and it kills them too.
Oh,
whoa! And they dead the cherries!
Well.
Wow! Destroyed!
And then we ate them.
So yeah, so it's great that the cover art is now on its way. So that should be done within this month. I think initially they said that it only takes them a week to do said artwork, but they had so many backpiled artworks because, you know, losing art and progress because of, you know, blackouts and other problems. You know, lack of, you know, fridge, all the food going spoiled and all that stuff. But it's also good because, of course, you know, as I said, I decided to start the Legend of Nanka's Miiverse adventure already. It's interesting going back to the sort of writing process as well as doing it with an action game. One thing I realised is that in terms of a story, particularly one where it's focused on one character's perspective primarily, Ocarina of Time's opening isn't really the best of way to open up a story. Because it starts off with narration, then cuts to Link's dream sequence, and then goes to the Deku Tree talking to Navi.
Yeah, it goes from
and it feels a very odd way of doing things. So, I think in terms of my writing, I think it'd be interesting to
so am I.
change the order, and even in some extent, not including certain scenes. Like, I don't think it's necessary to, in terms of a quality of a written story, include that initial narration sequence. And whether to keep the perspective more focused on Nanka, and, you know, taking the role of Link, I'm wondering if to even include the conversation that Navi and the Great Deku Tree have.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because it's kind of like how I did the Nanka's Pokemon Miiverse Adventure Director's Cut, in that I'm, you know, going through what I've written and I'm editing it, but I'm kind of doing so straight away. Whereas before, I'd write up the sequence and I'd have little time to judge, is this good or not, because I'd be uploading it almost immediately via the Miiverse post.
Can you cook?
Yep. Probably should have cooked further, but oh well.
Oh. I think they become like specific foods based on what enemy.
Possibly.
And then we immediately heal our health. Amazing. And you immediately get.
Yeah, the plate throw attack is terrible because you throw it and like it immediately misses the first opponent in front of you.
It's not worth using ever.
Oh, come on, Chef Glasky.
No.
It's I've also realised some other things. I'm fairly sure I've actually been spelling Sarah wrong. Because I believe they spell Sarah in Legend of Zelda as S-A-R-I-A. Whereas, of course, I've been spelling it S-A-R-A-H.
You mean Sarah?
Yeah. But I always called her Sarah. I'm going to leave that with no comment. Just... It could be a thing, but
yeah,
shouldn't be a thing.
Her name's always been Saria. Saria, I think is the correct way of pronouncing it.
Yeah, weird that, because I've always called her Sarah.
Yeah. Cowboy time.
But yeah, it's interesting. I've also had to kind of stop. Well, one interesting thing using the 3DS is there was a feature I forgot about the 3DS that has actually become very useful. That being the game notes feature.
The what?
The game notes feature. The little yellow icon on the top of the 3DS.
What does that do?
It allows you to make notes on games. I've only really used it once before. Well, 2 times before. One wasn't even relating to a game. I used it to keep track of the bus timetables for work.
Huh.
And the other time I used it was for putting down the cheat codes with Dead or Alive Dimensions, because you could do cheat codes to change Kazumi's hairstyle, as well as play as a character who's just like a skin of another character.
Oh.
Because in the tutorial they have Kazumi's father in the tutorial, and you can actually just skin over Kazumi to play as Kazumi's father.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And, but I've been able to use it, and thanks to the 3DS XL's much bigger size and much cleaner bottom screen, they didn't scratch it up, I've been able to actually write segments of the story straight away via the game notes, without having to write down in a book or anything. So I've got those stored up for when I later open up the computer to write on work. So that's been really handy.
Yeah, I honest God didn't know that was a feature.
Yeah, and apparently, you can actually send the game notes to an SD card, so you can actually do drawings in the game notes and possibly put them on the PC.
Huh.
So I might be able to do Miiverse style drawings again. The only thing that might make it dubious is I'm not sure if I can use paint on it or not.
Yeah.
Because that's what stopped Art Academy from working. I couldn't use paint fill to, improve all the artworks.
Oh, this is so
I'd have to colour it in by hand, and I despise that. I mean, heck, paint fill made me angry enough.
I hate this area.
But I haven't gone far in the story. Made quite a few sort of funny little jokes throughout it. There is a funny little ongoing joke I've been able to make in regard to suggesting that Nanka here has had more than just Navi as a fairy, and commenting stuff like, "Third time's the charm!" And Navi's just getting more and more worried about being assigned as Nanka's fairy. A few other little jokes, like how the Mr. Know-It-All brothers don't actually point you in the direction you need to go. There's actually nothing to indicate to where to find the sword, and it's hilarious. Which is even funnier because it turns out that the sword is actually owned by the Mr. Know-It-All brothers, because outside where you find the treasure chest for the sword, there is the sign says about the Mr. Know-It-All brothers, warning you about it.
Oh.
So it's funny they don't mention it. I
think we can do most of this. We just need paint.
And
I think that's Chef Kowalski that you've just entered the room.
Well, I might as well get rid of.
Well, we have to beat them all, but. Hello.
His uncle?
Mother Kowalski?
Maybe.
It's dead anyway.
Figure we just have a light snack here.
Kill everything
yeah,
inside.
it's been
milk.
Fun. It's been fun, although doing the writing straight away onto say Microsoft Word, for instance, gives me a little too much pause for thought how to sequence the events and such.
Yeah, you're thinking too much about it.
Yeah, whereas Miiverse Adventure, the advantage Nanka's Pokemon Miiverse Adventure had is it kind of taught me to be a bit more what's that word? When you do stuff on the fly. Well, that kind of sums it up. I trusted my judgment more.
Improvised,
yeah, sort of thing. And now it's kind of going back to, trying to go back to that mindset. It's also interesting trying to keep the Miiverse limitation I want, whilst having the freedom to not do so.
Yeah.
It's a rough limitation this time. I'm not keeping strictly to a 400-word count for each post, but it's interesting trying to keep to a form of restriction at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that has been annoying is the opening is very wordy. I'm trying to write down all the dialogue accurately. That is a terrifying sight.
This is Fat Kirby.
I haven't actually seen that one be painted up before.
Oh.
I'm also now curious about where I've got to, because I'm wondering if to ask another question.
Okay.
Because the idea I had initially was to have the first chapter about asking a question.
Is your cooking off cooldown?
No, why?
I think it can break it.
Oh.
If we all fully charge it.
Yep.
Think.
And let's go!
Strange concoction of death.
Yeah. Of course, Chef Krusky can do all.
Chef Krusky is the true master.
Yeah, it's been a fun experience, but yeah, I've got to a point where, you know, before the idea was that I wasn't going to ask any questions for the first chapter, because I felt there wasn't enough questions to ask. And ironically, I get to a point where it's like, should I ask whether Nanka should buy any additional items from the shop?
Yeah.
It's technically useless. It's technically not something you should do, because you get a lot of the stuff free anyway. But I already know in advance. I'm not sure if you should have watched this at this point. I may have asked the questions already, but at the point this is uploaded.
It's my masterpiece. Dee Dee, you're right there, buddy.
Um,
Can you imagine getting beaten to death by a statue of Susie? Your weird way to die.
Interesting to put on the gravestone, though.
Hey, I'm pretty sure there's flowers of tarantulas.
What was it? What was I going to say? No, you're like technically it's not something you should do, but I know there's going to be someone who will be reading who hasn't actually played Ocarina of Time before. So being able to ask the questions which shouldn't be answered, as you know, shouldn't even be brought up, is a good thing, because there will be people who maybe read the story who aren't familiar with the game.
Yeah, I get you.
And so there could be more interesting responses as a result of that. I mean, I had a similar thing with Nank's Pokemon Medium Adventure, except this case they did play the game. They just chose to ruin me by having Weeping Bell and Mega Drain, despite how Weeping Bell didn't need it.
Yeah, because it's fun to
And instead making so my Golbat, who back in then could use Mega Drain.
Where are you going?
Oh. I thought this was the extra way, because it was off screen, I couldn't see it.
This is the right way.
Oh wait, we can duck underneath there though.
Luckily for you.
What
did you think straight up the way we had been going was...
Because the path clearly shows you to going the right way, you know? You have to jump to get to the other one.
There's people that don't pay attention.
I pay too much attention, apparently.
Sure, use that.
But yeah, it's been a fun experience. But it's interesting that I've gone into a situation to ask a question.
Yeah.
Where, you know, because I felt before I shouldn't ask questions because there wasn't enough, but now it's like, this might actually lead to an interesting result.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing as a hobby lately, and cheer everyone!